Sneakers and Cleats, the podcast.
Let's get to the high school hype squad. So we're going to do high school football for the rest of the time here. One of my favorite times of the entire week. TNL top 10 for week 5. I have a problem with Carlos once again. Steele lost, ended up losing to Westlake, which we'll get into here in a second. But he dropped them from 1 to 3 when I think all of us know that if Steele played any team in our region, they would probably win by multiple touchdowns.
Not if they played like they did the other night.
Yeah, let's talk about the Westlake game. So they lost to Westlake 41 to 16. They did not play well. They went up 10-3 in that ball game because the Oklahoma recruit Jonathan Hatton ripped off a 75-yarder to start the game. There was no good offense for them the rest of the first half at the very least. Don?
I don't want to beat up on a high school kid, but there's a lot of inaccuracy in the passing game. I watched the first half. I watched most of the game, and it was they were out of sync. You can give Westlake some credit for that, but a lot of the throws were just behind receivers, overthrown. And to me, I was surprised they didn't target their best two guys,
Royal
Capel and Cooper?
Yeah, Jalen Cooper.
Yeah. They were going to number 1, a little kid. I don't know. But they kept going to him time after time and missing him. A lot of easy throws that were missed. So they were rattled.
Chuck, were you surprised at all by the final score of that game? Because I think going in, we were like, all right, we're going to see if Steele has what it takes to maybe make some noise in the 6A playoffs. And after that performance, I think it shook my confidence in them just a tad.
I think Westlake, right, coming off a loss too. And, I'm sure there was a little more motivation for them at this point. Let's see how they respond going forward. You obviously know what this might look like if you get deep into the playoffs. And so they're going to have to be better and maybe have to play differently. But again, I just don't know, where's the motivation coming from every week? If you're Steele at this point, maybe that was a big picture wake-up call because you're right. I think around here, they're pretty much going to have a lot of success around here.
Yeah.
Right?
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of like a Houston Cougars run and shoot that puts up 70 points, against a Michigan Big Ten team. And Westlake just smash-mouthed
Out-physicaled them.
Yeah, won the line of scrimmage, both sides of the ball, just pounded it down their throat. There was no stopping them. And then the pressure they got on Warner from the defensive front, they were just bigger, stronger, faster to me.
One other surprise we'll get to here in a little bit, but Smithson Valley beating Bernie Champion 42-10 was also pretty eye-opening to me, especially because we know Blaine Ellis's squad is always up for the task there. So let's get right into the TNL Top 10. Piper, number 1 this week. I don't blame us putting Piper number 1. They might be the best 5A team in the state. I think they're 9 right now or 11 in the Campbell rankings. They're playing Smithson Valley this week. It's going to be 2 of the top 16 teams in the state for 5A D1, and it's going to be just a banger this week in Piper. I'm pretty excited to see that game.
At the University of Piper
University of Piper.
God, man, that place is awesome.
Piper, I feel like we say this every week. Nick Rogers and that team is just unconscionably good.
Nick Rogers is a heck of a coach.
Absolutely. Alamo Heights, we saw pretty up close and personal this past week. It was a real treat for all of us, I think, seeing Michael Terry III in person and seeing just what kind of Texas Longhorn he's going to be. Yeah. What'd you guys think of Terry, and what'd you guys think of Alamo Heights this past week? They were on TNL this week. They beat Clemens 38-19, if anybody didn't see that.
The thing that impressed me most about Terry is that he's loving high school football. He embraces physicality. He's not protecting anything for the future. He's running the ball hard. He embraces contact. He looks for contact. Just a great teammate and will versatile. Will play anywhere.
Yeah, I thought what was really cool too was that Michael Terry's a great player. I think we already knew that going in, right? They got some other dudes too, right? Not
DK
just
Garza
Michael
too.
Terry.
DK Garza's really good. He's going to be a good back next year. This year too, but next year when there's no more Terry and they got to figure out some other things to do.
Heck of a safety too.
Absolutely. I was impressed by that whole. Also, Orem and Alamo Heights is going to be really, really nice in 2 years once that high school is built. Once they finish it all up, it's going to be lovely. We already talked about Steele a little bit. They play Clemens 7 o'clock at Lenhoff. They enter district play now. After seeing Clemens last week, I don't know how that game's really going to go because Clemens has so many injuries on their team. Chuck, real quick, tell us a little bit about Clemens and what they're dealing with, because obviously on Thursday there was a kid that literally had his foot run over the morning of, and still ended up playing in the game. They've just kind of had a run of really bad luck there.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of, in a microcosm, and maybe this is a horrible connect, but, just bouncing back no matter what comes your way. I mean, they even had a coach get sprayed by a skunk that morning too, I found out. So, I mean, it's just, it seemed like everything not going Clemens' way, but, bigger picture, I mean, the fact that they've lost 2 of their varsity players to death in the last 7 months. One of their players' mom passed away this week, and that young man still went out and played a football game on Thursday night. I mean, big picture stuff that really has nothing to do with X's and O's or who wins the scoreboard or any of that. I mean, the fact that the Clemens kids and coaching staff and the whole community is having to kind of rally around each other through the face of unbelievable adversity is it's really a strong tip of the cap to them. And then also, kind of a lesson for us all that, you have to keep persevering and do the best you can and pick up those around you. And then hopefully there are people around you that can pick you up when you need it too.
How's the Rodney Atkins song go? If you're going through hell, just keep on going.
That's right.
Something like that.
And the other thing that it reminds us of is just how lucky we are in San Antonio to have in the whole state, to have the kind of coaches that we have who embrace their roles in people's lives as more than X's and O's in a game. It's something that D.W. Rutledge brought to the Texas Coaches Association with the Coaching to Change Lives philosophy. It's a curriculum that these guys have to take, just like you get a master's degree. And these men are invested in the lives of these 17-year-old kids that are knuckleheads a lot of the time and making them men and responsible citizens, and are there in emergencies when you lose somebody in the family or something like that. So hats off to Alan Hill and that whole staff and what they mean to their players.
Absolutely. Can't say it any better than that. 4th team in our TNL top 10 is Southwest. Southwest, they are 4-0 now. They beat Laredo Martin 45-0. What are you doing over there, Luis? Oh, Luis went to Martin. Sorry, Luis. This is the first time since the 09-10 season that Southwest has started 4-0. They went undefeated that regular season, ended up losing the first round of the playoffs. So tip of the cap to everybody down there at Southwest. Brennan now 3-1, 2-0 in district play after they beat Harlan 51-14. Brennan getting a little bit of revenge after last season. Harlan getting the first win in that series last season on TNL. Great game we had last year on TNL. This year, 51-14, Brennan coming out and making a statement in their district.
I would say so, right?
Yeah.
Especially where they started the season.
Yeah.
And then to beat Harlan, not just beat them, but to beat them like that, I'd say that might be one of those teams that ultimately, you got to look at down the road and go, okay, wow, this team's really made a lot of progress.
They're racking up some impressive wins, too. You shut out Soto, you beat Smithson Valley, and then you kill Harlan the way that they did this past
Not a
weekend.
surprise with Steve Baser.
It's the same script as last year. It's like you lose big in week 1, and then you slowly get better throughout the entire season, which is why it's so hard to not overreact, but you can't overreact, especially in the non-con play for these high schools, and really for football
Razors,
at every
razors.
level. Exactly. Yeah. Smithson Valley beating Bernie Champion 42-10. That was a little surprising to me. They're now 3-1. They're 6th in our TNL top 10 poll. Like we said, they play Piper this week. Larry Hill is going to have his guys ready to roll for that matchup because that could easily decide, 1, that district, but 2, how seeding goes in the playoffs because both of those teams are going to make it. John Jay, I'm going to breeze through these last 4 here so we can get to the TNL matchup of the week. John Jay is 4-0 now. They are number 7 in our TNL top 10 poll. They defeated Southwest Legacy in a score you don't see very often, 9-3 this past week. Once again, Gary Gutierrez has his team purring as usual. They play Eagle Pass Win Friday 7:30. Brandeis had a bye this week. They're starting conference play this week. They play Johnson on Saturday. That's going to be a really good game, seeing how Johnson bounces back after their loss a couple weeks ago. New Braunfels, once again, destroying an opponent. Brad Mulder doing a great job up there in his first season.
Indeed.
Beats MacArthur 62-0.
Wow.
And they're 3-1, 1-0 in district now, and they play Victoria East Friday at 7. And then number 10 is a team that we're going to see on TNL this week. Taft is number 10. They beat Holmes 56-29. I was at that game to shoot it for us. They pulled out this like 4 lateral trick play that literally started to the running back. Running back goes on the wheel. They toss it back to the quarterback, a little flea flicker type thing. It was actually a really well-designed play.
Cool.
It's one of our plays of the week nominee. One of our plays of the week nominee. You can go to news4.com, news4sa.com and vote for that. TNL matchup of the week, guys. So we got Taft and Stevens. Maybe not the most highly anticipated matchup, but still a good one nonetheless, especially for a district play game. Ricky Stade, Chuck, has been there for a few years now. What do you get with a Ricky Stade coach team?
Well, this year you're getting a they're going back to their culture roots. He really wanted to concentrate on rebuilding what he brought when he got there, really make an emphasis on, making sure they're behaving, playing, everything that goes along with being a Taft football player the way they did when they came up. And I think the most fascinating thing about Stade and what he's done is there have been a bunch of his coaches that started with him here that have now gone to other schools that are doing the same thing and are automatically seeing the results. So, if I wanted a guy to come in and build culture or even rebuild culture, I think this would be the guy that I would immediately look to right off the bat. He could flip it.
Both guys. Boykin's the same way. Boykin's, man, I got an opportunity to hear him speak. He's a motivational speaker. And I wanted to just jump up and run out of the room and do something.
Go through a brick wall real quick?
Yeah. And the way that he goes about every single day with his kids on the field and off. If I'm a parent, I'd want my kid playing for Anthony Boykin.
Let's hear from Coach Ricky Stade first before we get to Mr. Boykin.
Before the season started to now, you're 3-1. What have you learned about these young men that you're coaching that maybe you didn't know heading into game 1 of the season?
I don't know if I didn't know it, but I learned that we can fight. I learned that we can handle some adversity because we've been in some crazy games, and a lot of that because of our own doing. But we always find a way to continue to fight, and I'm proud of them for that.
It seems like since the Eagle Pass game, it was like you guys have really kind of started to go ahead and find your rhythm. Are you kind of seeing that the offense is starting to come together, the defense is starting to play a lot better? Are you starting to see that on film?
We finally put 2 halves together of football last week against Holmes, which we hadn't done all year, and that was the ask. Obviously, is we've had some good first halves and some bad second halves and so forth. So we were just excited to put 2 together and play a cleaner game, both offensively and defensively.
What are going to be some of the biggest challenges now that you're going to face against a Stevens team, which record-wise doesn't look good, but they've still got the athletes over there, and it's still a good game?
The style of play, they're going to make it ugly, going to muddy it up on offense and try to drag you into their type of game. And we got to play our game at the end of the day, and no matter what they do, we've got to dictate the circumstances and the way things go.
And obviously you're no stranger to this, but on TNL, everybody gets to see Taft football again and what that brings. And how special is that for you guys?
Super excited. Great opportunity for the program, for the community, for these kids. It's just, to be on TV, it brings a little extra juice to the game, to the kids. And so, you know what, we're always ready to go out there and put on the show.
Always good to hear from Coach Stade. As far as Stevens goes, I almost kicked over my water. That would have been bad. As far as Stevens go, they're coming off a bye. They're 1-2. They beat Holmes 2 weeks ago as well, so one common opponent for these guys. How helpful is a bye in it's kind of in high school when you kind of had 2 weeks to prepare, one mentally for district play, but 2 for one opponent as you guys are coming in?
Well, also if you're 1-2, I think it's helpful to reset, and I think that could be beneficial for them.
Yeah, I like the fact that you get more days of practice, right? You get to really fine-tune, and then you get another week to fine-tune, and maybe, have a really good hard scrimmage against yourself that first week. So always a lot of benefits. And then, too, it's kind of how most of these teams measure the season, right? In the NFL, they're doing it every 4 games. We'll sit back after the 4 games. Where are we at? Where do we need to get better? Where do we need to improve? Those kinds of things. It's the same thing on the high school level. Now they're going to come fast and furious, and you got to play at your best. And the ones that do are going to be the ones that punch their ticket to the postseason.
Let's hear from Coach Anthony Boykin over at Stevens.
You played 3 games. What have you learned about your young men after 3 games that you didn't maybe know about them going into week 1?
Yeah, there's some, as you go through the course of a season, there's actually a lot of lessons that you learn. Off season, you try to, build a system in place, but until you're actually in the heat of battle, there's some things that you still have to figure out. So, probably one of the biggest things we learned was that we're actually pretty physical at the point of attack with the offensive line. Which was a pleasant surprise for us. We had some seniors returning. We had others who hadn't played before, so they've shown that they can, come off the football. Defensively, the ability to track and tackle has still been a process to tackle consistently. We've gotten better since week 1. It's a key. It's still a blocking and tackling game, so that's what I talk about with the kids all the time. So those are probably the 2 basic things that we've learned through these first 3 games.
Are you starting to see all of the fruits of the labor of the fall camp, the summer workouts? Is everything now starting, it seems like, starting to come together especially on the offensive side of the ball?
Yeah, I think so. We were disappointed in our production week 1, but it's gotten better week 2 and then definitely into week 3. So hopefully we'll continue through this, we call it the district tournament. We play in the SEC, the north side is tough, but we've gotten better each week.
Obviously, you guys are worried about the game. Television is a secondary type thing for you guys, but it does get a chance to showcase Stevens community, and everything that you guys are all about. What does that mean for you guys, for this team, for this community?
Yes, it's a neat deal. We appreciate you guys, showcasing all the kids' talents. It's big for our community. The community really supports Falcon football. They take pride in it. There'll be a big crowd on Thursday night. The kids are excited about it. And we play a great opponent. Taft is really good. They're really well coached. And so it'll be an exciting night.
Great speaker there, Anthony Boykin. You were right, Don. He does speak extremely well.
Man, he's got a motivational talk that he talks about motivating kids. And he was motivating other coaches where I saw him. And he was talking about if you can't be up for every day, then you're doing the kids a disservice. And he was talking about to the coaches about, you got stuff going on at home, you got this going on, but about what you have to deliver every single day to the kids, whether they're, in the locker room, whether they're going to class, whatever. And it was. I think everybody in the room when he was done, standing up. He was really, really good. He could be a preacher if he wasn't a football coach.
He missed his calling.
Yeah.
No, he's in the right spot. This is a guy who loves football and he loves those kids, and I'm looking forward to Thursday night.
Thursday night's going to be really fun. That's all we got for you today on the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. Remember to download, rate, review, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, tell a friend, tell an enemy. We'll be back on Thursday to preview what could be the last game we care about of the Cowboys season if they lose to the Giants. If not, we'll see you then.
It's a long year.